That's probably one of the worst things about social media as well, is this competition to create this sort of status game and then post about it and get awards and whatever. But I've been trying to write about this as one of the main hallmarks of a brand campaign.
I've spent a lot on brand campaigns, probably maybe 50 million over my career on TV across numerous markets. I think at one stage, I spent 800 grand in 2 weeks on production for one particular TV campaign. Run some of the most famous brands, particularly in the UK, to a certain extent in Ireland and even Australia. So I'm kind of like agnostic on the whole thing though, because the key thing is like, are we here to drive results? And, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but the more senior you get in your career, that essentially is the only thing that matters. So personally, I don't see, as I said earlier, between kind of brand and performance, I don't really see the world like that. However, what I do see is a lot of talk on social media around these things. And I also see a lot of things around where if somebody says, well, it's not kind of really like that once in a row, but there's a lot of shutting down of those particular arguments. And I would argue that many of these particular things are around what I call status, because as you touched on there, you cannot not have status. We are all playing status games. Being on a podcast like this is essentially playing a status game. And you know what? That's okay. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. Because that's actually how we move on in the world. That's how we structure our lives. However, when it doesn't become okay is when we actually go and claim status and then say that's actually the best way to do things. And I'm reminded of my conversation with a guy I do a lot of work with, and he's the ex-CEO of one of the largest agencies in the UK. And he would say, now he's saying it a tad more colloquially than what I'm about to say, but he said, within the building at the top with the best offices, with the coolest layout and the best haircuts, and would be the guys working in the creative department, and then maybe the strategy guys below them, and then somewhere in there was maybe the planning folks, but in the basement, in the windowless, airless rooms, was the guys running AdWords, and maybe just slightly above them in the kind of status game was the direct mail folks. But other than that was it, and that kind of thing just kind of struck a chord with me, whereby people talk about these things, but actually what they ultimately are is essentially in some respects a status game, because there's actually no reason why you should say that running a TV campaign is better than running an AdWords campaign. There's no real difference between the both forms of advertising, the both media being bought, and everything else is just discussion at the edge.